Kay and I recently celebrated our first anniversary. This year together has been revitalizing for us, filled with travel and adventure, fun, romance, and deepening of our love for each other.
Back in September of 2016, Phil lost his wife Nancy to pancreatic cancer. 3 months later, I lost my husband Joe to Parkinson's disease and dementia.
During Nancy's last 7 months, as my grieving process began, I remember thinking, I don't know where I'll be at the end of this. Yet Jesus was right there for me. God showed up in ways I would have never expected, reminding me He is in control.
Joe's extreme physical symptoms disabled him from working the last 10 years of his life. I was working a full-time job, and as his caretaker, I was extremely worn down and burned out. But I knew God hadn't forsaken us. While we don't understand everything, we can trust God's plan. We have a Father who brings new life.
The blessings that we are living in right now brings to mind some of the synonyms for resurrection, such as restoration, renewal, rejuvenation, and rebirth. I'm amazed at the life we have now compared to the way life was for us just a few years back. We have this great life together. We also have this wonderful family. We've seen restoration in our 4 married children and 8 grandchildren. We've been blessed as they've supported our relationship and made the blending the families easy.
We truly have gone from sorrow to joy, just like we all do when the Lord does His miraculous resurrection power in our lives.
We sure have.
In reflection of what the resurrection means to me, I see it as so much more than what I did when I was a kid. I used to see the resurrection of Christ as just a story, something cool. Oh, that's what Jesus did, that's awesome. But as I got older, I started to see it as freedom, as something real, power that had been taken from me, that was taken back by Christ. And as I've been going through life and just the problems that life gives you, and I've experienced guilt and shame and condemnation and fear and everything that Jesus crushed on the cross. So in thinking of the resurrection, it's like at the cross, He took my shame, He took my guilt, He took my condemnation, my fear, my anxiety, all on Him. And when He crucified it, He took away its power. And when He resurrected and rose from the dead, He gave me that power back. And He said, you no longer have to be a victim or a slave to fear, because I have finished it all, and you can be free and come to me with confidence and live life with confidence. So now when I think of the resurrection, I think of freedom, that I'm no longer a slave, but I am a child of the Most High God.
Well, the resurrection of Jesus, I think the best example I can turn to now would be what's played out over the last nearly 3 years in my family. And that is my wife, Evelyn, went home to be with Jesus, and she had a long battle with liver cancer. And Paul talks about the death. Death has a sting. It's a good word, because we as a Moyer family really did feel the sting of death. But what we found, Paul also talks about grace, and that grace is poured out. And in those seasons of time when you're desperate, it says His grace is sufficient for you. And that grace came, I know, as a result of His death on the cross and His resurrection and the coming of the Holy Spirit. And you guys need to know that Evelyn is not at my side anymore, but in her going home, the Holy Spirit has filled that place. And that grace is upon my children and I, like ways I have never known before. So my testimony today is my risen Jesus has brought grace to my home, even in loss. And I don't know how we would do it without Him. So I'm grateful for His grace.